Hey, what's up guys? Jay here, welcome back to another video. Today guys, I figured it out. I figured out how to bypass this nerf that we got. Maybe not bypass it, but at least work through it. So if you guys want to see a build for PvP Arena specifically, this is the video for you. So we're going to get right into it, guys. I'm super excited to show this to you. Before I show what's going on, I want to show you guys, currently I'm ranked 240. The highest I hit, I believe, was 188, right? And so basically, not to like brag or anything like that, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys, hey, this is the build that I've been currently using to see kind of my spread. You can see my healing is pretty solid overall. I'm averaging anywhere from like 160 to 200k. Get a little bit that are above that. But essentially, this build that I made, I went on a huge winning streak, right? Basically, this build that I made, that I've been experimenting with, has been able to skyrocket my rank. And so even though we got a nerf, right? So it's still possible, guys, to do super well in the arena. And so basically I want to showcase that build today for you to help you out, right? Because you guys know me by now. I don't really care about holding my secrets or anything like that. And I don't even think they're secrets. They're just tips that I've kind of noticed and through playing. And so I just want to help the healing community out. So I appreciate all the support you guys have been showing me. So with that, let's get into the character info, starting with stats. As you guys know, stats are super important to setting up a build, right? And so for me, I'm going to be focused on getting that survivability. But when we're in the arena, something that I realized with this nerf that we got where it shares the cooldown, right, is that like it shares the cooldown between healing touch and swift healing, is that the way to kind of circumvent it is to get our cooldown speed up. Which sounds crazy, right? So basically my whole thought process behind my stat build, and I've been experimenting with this a lot to see if survivability hitting that 70 threshold is worth it. But what I've realized is that if I'm able to spam my spells, all of them, all my healing spells, as quickly as possible, I'm actually able to heal just as much, if not more, than if I just focus on survivability. And with that, right, when you increase your wisdom and you increase your mana and everything like that, you actually get more healing out of it. And so real quick, I'm just going to go over why I hit 62 strength. So for me with my current build, and you guys can check out the link in the description if you want to see the build that I'm going for. But essentially, I hit 62 strength. And really, that was to hit that max 900 health that we get at 60 strength. We get heavy attack chance, which is great. But essentially, you want to invest in strength as much as you can so that you can hit that threshold to give you more survivability. Because in the arena specifically, I mean, you get blown up real fast by people. And so having more survivability is definitely key here. Dexterity, I'm not too worried about. I'm going to experiment more with this to see if crit healing actually helps with this nerf that we got. But for this video, we're going to be focused on wisdom. Guys, wisdom. I never really invested too much in this before this nerf. And to be honest, this is the key for me, at least, like from what I've been experimenting with. So if you guys can hit 50 wisdom and get that cooldown speed of extra 5%, and then you get if you hit 40, then you also get the debuff duration of negative 5%, and then you also get more max mana. Guys, this is huge, right? 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're in the arena and you're constantly casting spells and you're constantly casting abilities, this actually comes into play over time. Essentially, even though we have a shared cooldown between healing touch and between swift healing, we're actually able to essentially circumvent that by casting them a lot quicker. And so with that 5%, I'll just show you real quick on the stats. If you look all the way over here to the right, you'll see that my skill heal is at 75% because we added that max mana. And then also look at our cooldown speed, almost 30% cooldown speed, which is just insane, right? I mean, if you guys can hit this, essentially, we're able to cast our spells as quickly as possible. And the shared cooldown between swift healing and healing touch isn't as punishing. And so that's why I'm kind of going for the cooldown speed, more max mana. Yes, my max health is pretty low on this. Granted, I'm not max build yet. I don't have all of the gear for it, but I'm almost at 14k, which I think is okay, right? And so basically with that too, we're looking at this build from like a utility perspective, right? So we're able to heal a super large amount, 75%, and that goes into a lot of our passes, which we'll get into. But that cooldown speed is really what we're looking at. We got mana cost efficiency and everything like that too. And then as we talk about gear, I'll jump over back to my endurance and things like that. All right, so finishing off the build, I'm always going to go for that 40 perception though too, because I want that buff duration plus 5%, and then I also get additional hit chance. Hit chance, guys, as you guys know from my previous videos, is huge for us because we have a couple spells that need that extra hit chance in order to make it effective. And so I'm always going to try to go for that 40 perception if I'm able to. I will say though, in terms of priority, I would like to see you guys try out getting that 50 wisdom if possible, and then focusing strength as well too to try to get that 60 if possible. But what I would say, I would still take the 60 strength over getting 50 wisdom in the long run because we want that survivability. I mean, we can, again, I've said it before in previous videos, we can have all the best healing capabilities in the game, but if we can't survive one engagement, then it's completely pointless. And so basically go for that 50 wisdom if you can. And so yeah, that's basically it for the stats. For gear, not much has changed from my stuff, guys. Just use the best gear that you have. Again, I'll have the link in description of what endgame gear I'll be going for. Let me know in the comments if these links don't work. I know I had some issues with them last time, so just let me know. But yeah, we're basically going for, you know, base stats, max health, range and melee endurance, and max mana if we can. Towards the end, excuse me, and all the debuff durations and skill damage resistance, all that good stuff, right? And so with that, right, I'm going to go back into the stats again, and we're going to look at our melee endurance. Melee endurance is good. Range endurance could be better, but I think melee endurance is pretty solid. Right now, you guys, I'll just be honest with you. So the meta right now is definitely building melee evasion in the arena, right? And that's because Greatsword is so strong right now. I mean, it's ridiculous, guys. Like, and you know, you get essentially one shot by these. The thing that I've been hearing around the community though, and I've been talking to people that have been playing since KR though, is that in the early game in tier 1, melee evasion is going to be meta because there isn't much hit chance built into a lot of the armor pieces, the weapons and things like that. But I've been told that as you get into tier 2, which is in the future, that's when hit chance will be a lot more prevalent, making melee evasion less viable. Now, obviously, it's going to be viable no matter what, but that's why I'm still just going to stack melee endurance for the long term. One, because as you guys know, it's so punishing to change your gear out. And for me, I've already committed to melee endurance, so I'm just going to stick with that, especially going into tier 2 in the coming months. So that's just my recommendation. I would continue to go in melee endurance. If you have the capacity to switch to melee evasion, then I think that would serve you pretty well in the current meta, because being able to dodge that greatsword is just going to be huge for you, right? And then also, guys, without going too much into that, look at our buff duration, 41%, debuff duration almost 25%, and we get that from stacking our wisdom, perception, and then also the gear we have too. And so basically, we want these as much as possible because we want our abilities to be as powerful as possible when we cast them. Okay, so that's all for gear. I'm going to jump into skills, guys, and this is where it gets really interesting and really different from a lot of the builds that I've been doing, but I'm kind of throwing back to my original build as well on the PvP guide video that I had. All right, so before we get into this, or as we get into this, essentially, I'm going to be a pure healing support, guys. So I'm only concerned about pure healing and support items, or excuse me, skills. I'm not really caring too much about damage. I'm not going to be doing too much damage. So that's going to be the driving force behind this, right? So I'm always going to start with swift healing, guys. Even though it shares the cooldown with healing touch, I'm still going to bring swift healing because it is our most potent heal. It's our get out of jail free card, essentially. And it's just awesome, guys. So just bring this always. Next, I'm going to bring a sleep, right? So as I've noticed, as I get into higher ranks, right, sleep is one of the most important things that we can actually bring because it allows us to save ourselves, our teammates, isolate the healer or the tank so that we can secure a kill. So that's why I'm going to be bringing Cursed Nightmare, which again, I turned it into, I believe, Cursed Nightmare in the specializations, but bring this sleep, guys, and at least experiment with it. And this is where perception comes into big play here, because we're able to hit that sleep. Next is Fountain of Life. For obvious reasons, this is just a good AoE heal, guys. I would bring it. It'll help set you up for success when someone's about to dive you. You can throw it on yourself, or you can throw it on your teammates when they're grouped. So I would just bring that. Next is Invincible Wall. So I'll talk about this more in the specs, but I always bring this, guys, because it gives us a nice shield. I was able to get mine to level 5, and which, I mean, if you look at it, 990% plus 591 damage protection, right? So that's based off of your base damage that you can do, which is just crazy. So this is a really good shield, guys. I would highly recommend bringing it, no matter what. And then I always talk about Blessed Barrier, guys. This is like our best healing skill, especially in the arena for that single target, because it gives whoever you put it on defense, healing received, that magic, melee, and ranged endurance. I mean, this is just an amazing shield, guys. Always bring this. Prioritize this if you can. And then finally, Clay Salvation for wand, Clay Salvation. And the reason why I didn't turn this into Janice's Rage, which, again, I'll get more into the specs, is because we have that shared cooldown between Swift Healing and Healing Touch. And so basically, I'm just going to bring this for that extra burst healing if I need it, right? And so I would like to bring Janice's Rage to give our team a little bit more DPS, but honestly, I'd rather keep them alive than give them more damage, because if we make a mistake with Swift Healing or Healing Touch, at least we have this to kind of support us. Moving into the bow, I'm always going to bring Nature's Blessing, because this gives us so much utility with mana regen, with health regen, and when you remove a weaken, it gives us even more health regeneration. So always bring this, guys. This is one of our best bow skills. And then this will be interesting, Limit Break, right? So I'll get into this more with the specs, but I'm going to bring this no matter what, even if I didn't have Limit Break on, because it allows us to reset one of our skills, which is just huge. I mean, we can reset. You'll see me a lot of the time use it for Blessed Barrier. I'll use Blessed Barrier, then I'll hit the Blitz or the Limit Break, and then I'll be able to use Blessed Barrier again, because again, this is one of our best skills that we have for healing. Next is we Flash Wave. Obviously turning Flash Arrow into Flash Wave, because it gives us that damage and it gives us healing. So just bring that too. Now Cleanse is interesting. I call it Cleanse, but it's Purifying Touch, right? So what this does is it basically so we'll just read it. Removes one debuff effect from a selected ally. Successfully removing a debuff effect increases the user's attack speed by 25%. Debuff removal priority 1, confinement 2, movement restriction 3, weaken effects, moves up to 20 stacks of weaken. So essentially, if someone is stunned and they have a weaken on them, this will remove the stun first, and then if you use it again, then it'll remove the weaken. So essentially, it prioritizes movement over those debuffs that are on them. So just so you guys are aware of that, pretty much I use this whenever someone is stunned or bound or confined, whatever the term is that they use. So I would just bring that, guys, experiment it with a little bit. I think it's really good, especially when you get into the specs. And then we have Healing Touch 2. I still bring this, guys, even though it shares the cooldown with Swift Healing. I still recommend bringing this because it gives so much value when you have different specializations, but it's also a great heal over time, that hot heal, which allows you to set up your heals so that people can survive. And finally, I bring Tornado. I always bring this, even in the arena and in GVG, right? It just gives us an AoE. It helps us if we're getting dove by someone and we're getting isolated. We're able to send them flying. Gives us that extra 2 seconds to get away, which is huge. It can also help isolate healers as well. So I recommend bringing this. And then, I never really talk about these, but Overtaker, I just bring in case you get that perfect dodge, and then you can do one more free dodge, which is awesome. Moving into passives, guys, so Devotion and Emptiness. So I did confirm something just from my own experience, that skill heal increases by 32% and heal skill cooldown decreases by 10% during the day, right? So when you're in the arena, it is during the day, right? We're not at night. And so I tested this. Basically, I was at night in the overworld, right? And then I went into the arena and I checked my stats, and sure enough, it showed that it was daytime there. So I just wanted to confirm that for you guys. So when you're using these skills and stuff, you'll know, hey, when I'm in the arena, it is daytime. So essentially, we get that extra 10% cooldown, which is just crazy with that healing. And again, this stacks nicely with all of the wisdom that we're building, extra cooldown speed, and everything like that. All right, so now we got Noble Revival. No-brainer here, just gives us more skill heal based on the mana we have. So again, if we're increasing our wisdom, that means we just get more healing. And then Saint's Oath, I like to bring this too because again, it just gives us more healing over time, which is really awesome. Or not healing, yeah, healing received. And it allows us to heal quicker with our skill heal. Or not quicker, I'm sorry, more potently with our skill heal, which is just a great utility for us. And then finally for the wand passives, I like to use Selfless Soul. Gives us all that mana, gives us more healing, and so it's just a really good thing because it can stack up to 5 times. So as we're casting a bunch of abilities quickly, we can get those 5 stacks pretty easily. Down to bow, Distorted Sanctuary, always bringing this because it gives all of that endurance and health recovery over time for all of our party members that are within a 16-meter radius. Since we're close quarters in arena, this is really helpful. Earth's Blessing, I just bring this because it increases our health regen, so it helps with our survivability. Devoted Shield, so guys, like I know this got changed, but honestly, I like this change a lot better than what it was earlier. So earlier, we could just survive like, you know, a whole weekend onslaught from like a crossbow daggers, but to be honest with you, this changed where it gives you that almost a 6,000 damage reducing shield at 30% is just so good. And you'll see that saved me a lot of the times. Yes, it's on a 60-second cooldown, but I still think that this is really solid. So I would still recommend bringing it because it's essentially saves you if you're getting, I guess, like double teamed or even triple teamed too. And finally, I bring Sniper Sense, right? So essentially, each 1 meter distance away from the target increases our critical chance. So I like this because it helps with that crit healing. Again, it doesn't happen as often as, you know, it's worth investing into, in my opinion, but it's nice when it does happen, and I think it's the best kind of last passive to use. For the Masteries, again, I'm going the middle row all the way to Redemptive Penance. And then I'm trying to hit the top as well. And the reason why is because you get that additional cooldown speed, wisdom, and you get more cooldown speed if you're able to get all the way to the end. I'm only level 13, so hopefully we'll make it to the end soon. I mean, it takes a while for Wand, it feels like. But yeah, so essentially we want that cooldown speed as much as we can. And then for longbow, I go all the way to the top, all the way to the end here. Again, we get like perception and we get movement speed, buff duration. And then we also get CC resistance, you know, all this max health stuff too. But then I always bring it to the middle to always aim for that cooldown speed. And so that's what we're going for on the top and then middle row all the way to the middle. All right, so now we're moving into the best part is the skill specialization, guys. So this is where it gets really interesting. And so you'll see right away that I've invested a lot more points into our bow healing versus our wand healing, and I'll kind of explain why. So for the wand healing, I'm only going to go for swift healing. I'm going to go with healing transfers and then consecutive use. The reason why is because we want to always bring healing transfer to whenever we heal our teammates, we want to heal ourselves, right? That's just a really good skill. Because swift healing is a great heal, we just want to be able to maximize its potential. And then consecutive use because it essentially saves our teammates and ourselves if we need it. So not much to say there. I did get rid of skill distance increase because I wanted to invest in other stat priorities or other skill specialization priorities. Next, for Cursed Nightmare, guys, I'm going to go Enhanced Nightmare because they instantly fall asleep unless they're affected by a movement speed decrease, right? So this is huge, guys. This has saved my teammates so many times. It's saved myself. It's allowed us to isolate healers, isolate tanks so that we can then then we can kill the other team, wow, I cannot talk, the other teammates, so that, you know, we can essentially leave one person incapacitated, which is just huge for us. I mean, we really want to use this not on cooldown, but during specific times so that we can capitalize on a kill. So I bring Enhanced Nightmare always with this too. Clay Salvation, I went radius increased here because Clay Salvation, sometimes it feels like it's a little bit too short of a range. So having that increased range is really helpful for us because it gives us that heal. Blessed Barrier, I'm going to go with duration increased here because, again, I always say this is like one of our best heals. or healing spells. And so we want to increase the duration of this as much as possible to increase everyone's survivability. Invincible Wall, guys, I actually don't go targets expanded in the arena specifically because it's so close core, or because there's so few people that were healing. I feel that there's more value in giving someone a big shield versus giving all of us a mini shield. And so that's basically, I got rid of targets expanded. Don't really feel like skill distance increase is needed, so that's why I went with that one. And then finally for Fountain of Life, guys, I just went for radius increase when people are grouped and for ourselves. And then I also don't go mana recovery. People get mad in the arena sometimes, but as you get higher, people don't really care for it as much. I would rather heal people than give them a little bit extra mana. And so I would just continue to just go with radius increase for that. Moving into the bow specs. All right, this is where it gets even more interesting, right? So essentially my thought process with the bow is I want to make healing touch as viable and as potent as possible. And I talked about this in our discussion in the last video, but now I'll dive into me actually experimenting with it and figuring out what actually works, right? And so what I mean by that is healing touch basically procs with a couple other of our spells, and Nature's Blessing is one of them. So I'm going to bring Vitality because it says while Nature's Blessing and Healing Touch are active on a friendly target, the target continuously heals 130% and increases health regen and all that great stuff, right? So essentially when we have Healing Touch on someone and then we use Nature's Blessing or vice versa, this will basically give them so much more health regeneration than if we just had one or the other. So I'm going to bring this because, again, when we use Healing Touch, we want it to be effective. We don't want to just waste it and then feel bad when we can't use Swift Healing to get out of a situation. With that too, I also bring the Whirlpool because this gives us that one additional stack when the Whirlpool is activated. So it gives us that movement speed and it allows us to heal them even more, which is awesome. So this, you have to be kind of closer to your teammates, but I found that it is very effective when you're trying to heal people, especially if you're using Healing Touch. Then you can get rid of on top of your teammates, use this to activate the Whirlpool, and then they get those additional stacks. For the Tornado, I'm obviously just going to turn it into Tornado, guys. I said that kind of earlier. It just helps us with CCing and isolating and saving ourselves. Healing Touch. Now again, goes back to what I was talking about with duration increase. When we use this, when you're applying Flash Wave to party members affected by the user's Healing Touch, it increases Healing Touch's duration by 6 seconds, that's a lot, guys. 6 seconds in the arena is a long time. And so if we can use Healing Touch and then Flash Wave on people that we've used Healing Touch on, it just gives them more hot healing or healing over time, and essentially just makes Healing Touch that much better and more useful when we're using it. And then I debated on this one a lot, but I ended up going with additional health recovery. At first I was like, oh, this doesn't sound too good. But in practice, when you actually get 3 stacks on someone, it essentially gives them like a mini swift healing, which I think is really nice, right? Because essentially when your Healing Touch timer ends, it gives them that burst little healing that can help them survive a little bit longer. And it just helps us overall, right? Because again, we want to make Healing Touch very potent. And so if we throw Healing Touch on someone, if they get even a little bit more healing, that's awesome. That just helps mitigate more damage, and then it keeps our teammates in the fight. So I went with this one. You probably could get rid of this one if you don't really like it. But for me, with my experimenting, I've kind of leaned towards it. And then for Purifying Touch, again, right, with Healing Touch, it applies 1 Healing Touch to the target upon removal. So if you remove anything, whether it's a stun or a weaken or debuff, whatever, then it'll apply Healing Touch. Now what's interesting is that I tested this too, if you use Purifying Touch on someone and it gives them Healing Touch, it does not proc the Swift Healing and Healing Touch cooldown, right? It's its own separate thing, but it still gives another Healing Touch, which is awesome, right? And so basically, we're trying to make Healing Touch awesome, right? So if we have 1 stack on someone and then we use Purifying Touch on them, that gives them 2 stacks. So now they have 2 stacks of Healing Touch, and then we're able to cycle right back to Healing Touch to give them 3 stacks, which is awesome. And then that goes into our additional health recovery and so on. So I think this is really nice when you actually purify something that you're able to heal them off the gate or off the bat too, which is great. All right, so then the last two, we're going into Limit Break, guys. So the big reason why I chose Limit Break is for this reason. It is awesome, guys. Like, seriously, I would test it out for yourselves, see if you like it. It's a little bit different than what we're used to, but I think it's really good overall. So essentially, I'll just read it, right? So it resets the cooldown of the recently used skill, and so basically it resets the skills that we have, right? And so it doesn't, so they have not applicable skills. Honestly, none of those affect us because we're not using any of those. So basically, if you guys are aware, you can actually reset the swift healing cooldown, which I don't think you could do that in the previous patch. So basically, you can use this, or maybe it is when you have blitz or whatever. Yeah, I guess no, it still works. So basically, you can reset any of the skills that we have, and typically I'll use it on Blessed Barrier, which is really helpful. Now, when you do reset it, right, it procs, and if you look down below at Flash Wave, beginning at Flash Wave, it says the damage and continuous healing increases by 20%. I mean, this is crazy, guys. And this will proc greatly with our Flash Wave too when we get into that. But essentially, if we use Limit Break to, say, reset our barrier, and then we use Flash Wave, we're going to get an additional damage and continuous healing by 20%, which is just huge. Also with that, we can also use it for Healing Touch, which just gives us more healing, and it decreases our Limit Break cooldown. And then same with Purifying Touch too. It removes every single debuff from a target. So if they have weakens, they have debuffs, they're stunned, you can use Limit Break and then use Purifying Touch, and it'll remove everything. Plus, it gets rid of 10 seconds of Limit Break. So typically what I do for this, right, is, and I'll talk about a rotation too. Essentially what I'll do is I'll use Limit Break after I use Blessed Barrier to get my Blessed Barrier back, and then I'll immediately go into Flash Wave. And so getting that extra 20% healing over time is just incredible, especially when we have Healing Touch. So if we have Healing Touch with, again, duration increase, that increases our Healing Touch on someone. Plus we have Flash Wave. Plus we have the 20% healing increase. I mean, I'm smiling right now because it does so much healing, guys. So much healing. Try it out. And then finally, Flash Wave, right? So I ended up getting rid of range widened in the arena specifically because I felt that, you know, we don't really need this as much as you do in like a GVG setting. So that's why I got rid of it here. I don't think it's necessary. And so I needed a lot of points for Limit Break. And so basically I'm going to go affect duration because we just get a longer Flash Wave, which is great, especially if we have Limit Breaks. We have 20% healing increase for that additional 3 seconds. Blind, we're always going to do this because it helps with our teammates, lowering the enemy's hit chance. And then finally, obviously, Flash Wave too. So this is kind of my specs, guys. I hope it helped. You know, I hope I explained it a little bit. Please leave a question down in the comments if you are... if something was a little bit unclear, but now I'm going to kind of go over into a quick rotation of how I kind of work things, and then I'm going to showcase an arena match. I'll do a ranked one too, showing you guys the potential of it. Now, when I do go into the ranked arena, it's going to be me that's doing it without any commentary over it, or not any real-time commentary. So what I'll do is I'll check out the video, I'll do a little voiceover of what I'm practicing and what I'm doing to show you guys, hey, this is the potential, because then it allows me to be a little bit more focused. And so then I can show you guys a real-time ranked arena of everything I did well and things I didn't do well. All right, so typical rotation, guys. I'm always going to start at the beginning of the match with Healing Touch. I don't care if it's sharing the cooldown with Swift Healing. This allows me to get 3 stacks. If you look on my screen, I have 3 stacks now at the top, right? And this will help me as the fight continues, right? So basically, as we're going into this, right, if someone gets a weaken on them and they have Healing Touch, I'm immediately going to use Nature's Blessing, and I'm going to try to get as close to them as possible, right? Because then it gives that whirlpool and it removes an effect on them, gives them that Nature's Blessing, which gives more health regen, which is really nice, right? And so essentially with that, say they're taking a lot of damage, I've used Healing Touch a lot, and then I use Nature's Blessing, and they're still healing up, I'm going to give them the Invincible Wall. This allows damage mitigation on our heal, or excuse me, it allows damage mitigation on our targets so that they can heal up from Nature's Blessing and Healing Touch, right? And so another quick combo that I like to do is, say someone is pretty weak or I'm pretty weak, I will use Blessed Barrier, and then you'll see I'm going to use Blitz, guys, or Limit Break. And when I use Limit Break, watch what happens to the icon of my Flash Wave. It'll turn green, right? So now I have 7 seconds to use Flash Wave, and basically when I use that, now I have an increased 20% healing for my Flash Wave, right? Because I used it within that time limit that Limit Break had, right? And so you can do the same thing for Healing Touch too when you have your Limit Break up, and you can use Purifying Touch as well, right? So I typically try to use it for that Flash Wave because it gives us that extra 20% healing, right? But now look, I have my Blessed Barrier back, and so when I have Blessed Barrier, I'm going to use Swift Healing, right? Because this is going to get our target up pretty much full health, right? Yes, we share the cooldown, but when we have Blessed Barrier, we almost 9 times out of 10 will get our teammate back to full health. And so essentially, I'm going to be using, so to talk about my other skills real quick, if I have all of these on cooldown, both of my Healing Touch and my Swift Healing, I have Clay Salvation to support. And then if someone is about to dive me, I'm always going to throw Fountain of Life down right away to give me that healing as someone's diving me, right? Because if I get stun locked, I mean, at least I'm healing myself over time. And then finally, the last couple, I have my Tornado in case I need to CC someone, and then I also have my Sleep as well to support with isolating targets, right? So essentially to recap, right, I'm always going to lead with Healing Touch no matter what. I'm going to be looking to use Nature's Blessing early, but I don't want to use it until I see a weaken on the enemy, right? Because this will proc all of the health regeneration. So don't use it before you see a weaken. So then you use it, great, I have the weaken out. Oh, they're taking a lot of damage, so I'm going to use Blessed Barrier, and then watch Limit Break, and you can look at your Healing Touch and the Purifying Cleanse as well, or Purifying Touch as well, and you'll see the color change. That means I have about 7 seconds, you'll see the countdown, 7 seconds to use one of these abilities, right? And you see it turn red, and then like a little darker color too. If I let it go, then I don't get that extra 20% from Flash Wave, or that extra healing from Healing Touch, or that extra debuff removal from Purifying Cleanse. So you have to use it within that time frame. So get in the habit of using Blessed Barrier, then Limit Break, and then Flash Wave. That's going to be your biggest healing combo overall, right? And then if they're still taking damage, obviously you want to make sure to use your Swift Healing as well. And I almost always just throw my barrier out there to help teammates, but I specifically use it when I'm doing healing over time on someone. I'll throw my Invincible Wall down so that it allows that healing to take place. Okay, so with that, guys, that is my rotation. I'm going to jump into an arena match to kind of showcase what I'm going to do. And so again, this is going to be a ranked arena, and so I'm going to do a voiceover of it to make sure that you guys kind of follow along with my thought process, things I did well, things I didn't do well. So with that, I'll see you guys in the arena. All right, what's up, guys? So yeah, we're back into it. So I just decided to jump into a live arena just to give you guys my thought process. Guys, this is a normal one. And so basically what I'm going to be doing is kind of showcasing everything we talked about, right? So basically at the start, I'm going to recognize who's going to be my kind of squishy guy and who's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to be this guy as well. So I'm going to give him those healing touches right away. And then I'm not going to use Nature's Blessing until he gets a lot of weakens on him. Now I'm going to be taking a lot of heat, so I'm going to use Blessed Barrier into the Blitz, but then I'm going to go right into my Flash Wave to give that extra healing that we get. Because my teammates are grouped, I'm going to sleep this guy to allow us to isolate this target, and essentially look at all that healing that we were able to output just because we gave that to them, right? So we gave them all this healing. Essentially, basically, we're going to give this guy a Blessed Barrier to make sure he gets his health back. And so, yeah, I'm going to be talking about this. And so I'm trying to work on awareness. So that's kind of my big thing. But right now I'm trying to showcase, all of the different... this guy's about to get slammed, so we're going to give him a barrier. And we're able to heal him through all of that damage that he had, which is really good, right? So essentially, I want to try to get 3 stacks on people with my Healing Touch, even though it shares that cooldown. Oh, he said nice heals. That was nice of him to say. So essentially, this guy's going to be doing a lot of damage. I have Blessed Barrier, so I'm not too worried about it. So essentially, he's just going to keep hitting me, but I still have my blessed barrier, which is really good. My other guy's here, so we're going to isolate this by sleeping. I missed the sleep, which is fine. And we're going to go help this guy out real quick. So I'm going to give him Healing Touch, bless Nature's Blessing, give him a cleanse, and then he's got so much healing, guys. Look at this. Give him that blessed barrier to finish off his healing, and essentially we're able to clean up after that, which is really helpful. Right, so basically we want to do a lot of prep work that really helps us in the long run, right? So essentially we want to heal these guys, give them that Healing Touch right away, and then we're able to proc it. Now that I see my blitz is up, or my limit break, I'm going to get ready to use that. Cleanse this so he gets out of that. Give him an early blessed barrier because we know he's going to take damage, right? And so essentially, I think he might go down here unless I can get the Whirlpool off on him. So I got my other heal, which is good. Use limit break here to get my healing back. And then I'm going to try to get both teammates if I can. Cleanse this to help him out. And essentially we're going to give him more shields too to give him that full health. We're going to isolate this guy. Missed that, but that's okay. We're going to try to help him out even more. Give both of my guys healing with Clay Salvation. Blessed Barrier to help him out. Essentially he's going to be taking a lot of heat here, so we're going to just do the best that we can. We are outnumbered right now, so if we go down, it happens, right? Like, we're not always going to have a perfect run. But I see he has a weaken on him, so I'm going to use that mixed with my Nature's Blessing. I got close to him because I have the Whirlpool, right? And so essentially we have the Whirlpool. We want to get close to people. Oh man, we won that game really fast. And so, to be honest, I think it had to do a lot with the healing that we were putting out, right? We're able to help isolate. Our DPS was really solid, but that kind of showcased what I was talking about, where you want to essentially use your Purifying Touch when they have a stun on them, gives them that Healing Touch. Want to use Healing Touch as often as possible, give them the barrier to help get that healing up, and then use Blessed Barrier with our Limit Break, and then follow that up with a Flash Wave to give everything, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what happens in the arena if you guys are liking this sort of content, and if this is helpful to you at all. I think we got nerfed, sure, but I think there's a way around it. We just had to do a little bit of experimenting and testing. So I hope this helps you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and good luck in the arena. We'll see you in the next one.